These are 3 of my favourite digital art layer systems that can transform your horrible layer management to make it organised and easy to work with so that you can create your best art. Layer management is an important thing for any digital artist who respects their time and doesn't want to spend days sorting through their 63,284 layers to find that one spot which you can't erase. Good layer management will improve your efficiency of drawings as well as the consistency and quality of them, as you have a structure for your art. In fact, it's possibly one of the most underrated aspects of art that might just be the difference between the art you currently make and the art you want to make. Many people mistakenly think that layer management is a tedious process which slows down your flow and requires a lot of effort and skill to do. This is not at all true. In this video, I'll show you 3 of my favourite layer management systems that you can easily implement into your next painting to start seeing results straight away. Before I start, I should point out that all these systems will work in any digital art software you might be using, but you need to make sure you know how to create clipping masks, create folders, and use blend modes. If you're not using Procreate, as I won't be showing all the different software individually in this video. Alright, let's go. System 1. This one's the most organised but also the most complex. If you can get this, all the other systems in this video will be a piece of cake. So how does it work? So you start out with the sketch layer. By the way, you can create all your layers beforehand or just add them in as you go like I'm doing here. If your sketch is trashed, you can create a new layer on top, lower the opacity of the trash sketch, and then make the cleaner one on top. This goes from a messy sketch to a neat sketch. What about line art? Well, you just repeat this same process with the line art brush to go from a neat sketch to a line art. Nice, now I got the line art, where to put all the different colour layers, and how to organise all that stuff. Well, to do that, you can split it up into a few steps. Below your line art layer, I add a new layer called whatever flats. So for example, now it's star flats. Now this is for your flat colour of that thing. Just fill it in however you please, and then repeat for all the other elements in your painting. Shadows and blend mode. So now for each flat color, I make a shadow layer above it and clip it to that one by creating a clipping mask. You can use multiply, but I don't. This will be for all your main shadows. And once you're done, you repeat that same process for your lights, creating a new light layer above and then clipping it down for each of your flat colors. And again, you can use overlay, screen, linear dodge, whatever blend modes you like, but I don't. So this should be looking good already, but it's still missing a few things. On top of everything, add a layer called ambient occlusion. In case you don't know what that is, it's just like the dark crevice shadows. So you might be wondering, why is ambient occlusion shadows on a separate layer to the rest? Well, it's because for me, I like it as the colour of ambient occlusion doesn't change based on what colour it's on, so there's no reason for it to be. And I also like to be able to be loose with it, putting it around everywhere on the painting instead of restricted by a clipping mask. So now there's just one thing that's missing. My last layer on top of everything. This is the effects. Lens flares, orange transitions, custom brushes, chromatic aberration, blurs, depths of field, more glows, and all the effects you want, just add them in on this layer. Right, so that's the first one. Now we're on to system 2. While that first system was very good and organised, it's the most time consuming and I rarely use it. Only if I want to be really organised so I can change everything for some reason, then I'll use it. But instead, most of the time, I use one of these next two. This one right here that I'm about to show you, or an even more simple one that I'll show you last, which I use to save time and simplify my workflow the most. So starting out again with a sketch layer on this one, you can keep on creating a few until you're happy just like before, but I like to use the first one even though it's quite loose. Maybe rarely I'll use 2, but most of the time I just stick with 1. Now here's where it starts to differ from the first one. This one we include no line art layer, nothing. What? Why don't I use line art? Well, it's a massive time sucker. It doesn't even help my art that much for me, when most of the time I'm going to remove it later anyway. After that, I'm adding one base color layer under the sketch, which also includes color variations. This time it's just one base color layer for all your different colors, and then I'll add different color variations on that, but you can come back to it and add more color variations later. Then adding the shadow layers are also simplified a lot as well. There's just 2 shadow layers needed for the whole painting. One for the main shadows, which is clipped to the base colors, and then one for the ambient occlusion above that, not clipped. And then as you add more shadows and you define the form more, what I tend to do is I gradually remove the sketch, so I'll erase bits of it and then the shadows will hopefully take place of the sketch, so that it's no longer needed. Then for how the lights work, I have 2 light layers as well. One for the main direct light, clipped onto the flat colours again, and one for the bounce light, not clipped onto the flat colours. Then finally add the same layer on top as before for all the effects at the end, just to add touch-ups and however you like. Alright, last one, system 3. So there's still one more method that I actually use a lot and is extremely simple with just 4 layers. I pretty much always use this for quicker paintings, but even for more time-consuming ones, I'm now starting to use this method more often. So how does it work? So you do the same sketch like before, then underneath that, base color layer for everything. Then on top of that base color layer, I just add one single layer called rendering for light, shadow, and everything. So why only one layer? Isn't that going to make it confusing and difficult to work with? Oh, actually not. I put it on top of everything so that it's as easy as possible to paint over the sketch, and it just makes it more freeing to add rendering without being forced into doing it with light and shadow in a certain way. Then one last layer on top of that, yep, you guessed it, an effects layer like always, to add all those sweet finishing touches. So there you go, 3 of my favourite digital art layering systems. I hope you enjoyed.